the ideal king, the ideal son, the ideal husband, ideal father, ideal brother. Lord Ram is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had descended on earth with the purpose of highlighting how to live our life while fulfilling our duties to various people dependent upon us, and who, through his own pristine character and conduct, teaches us how to follow Dharma and lead a life of righteousness. Ramayana means the journey of Lord Ram and details the story of Lord Ram's pastimes. The origin of this poem is based on the question that sage Valmiki asked his guru, Narada Muni. Among the men in this world, who is the one crowned with every excellent quality? The answer brings us to the hero of this great epic, Lord Rama, the king of Ayodhya, the one who possesses all excellent qualities, the one who has mastered the science of human and divine weapons, the one who is well versed in the mysteries of Dharma, the one who is magnanimous of heart, who never strays from Dharma, who is not duplicitous, who is pure and spotless, the one who has conquered anger, who is non-envious, the one who is undefeated in battles, the one who is always charming, the one who is self-controlled. Once upon a time, in the glorious Suryavanshi dynasty of Ishvaku, Dasarath Maharaj, the emperor of the world, ruled from the kingdom of Ayodhya. He was most unhappy because he did not have a son who could continue his lineage and manage the affairs of the world after him. He did the Putra Kamashti Yajna to obtain a son, and got 4 sons between 3 of his principal queens. Lord Ram was born to Queen Kaushalya. Second son was Bharat, born to Queen Kaikeyi. And the twins, Lakshman and Shatrughan, were born to Queen Sumitra. Ram means one who gives pleasure, and baby Ram lived up to his name. Though it was the Supreme Lord himself born as Ram, his parents only thought of him as their loving, sweet, obedient child. He was loved by everyone in Ayodhya. Later, Lord Ram married Sita, the princess of Mithila and daughter of great Maharaj Janak. Due to a twist of fate, he was then exiled from Ayodhya and spent the next 13 years in the forest with Sita and Lakshman. Once, when Ram and Lakshman were not at home, Sita was kidnapped by the cruel and lusty Asura Ravan, the king of Lanka, whose very name means he who makes others cry. Ram became grief-stricken, but later met Hanuman, the bravest of the Vanaras, and his most ardent devotee. Hanuman took Ram and Lakshman to meet his friend Sugriva, who is hiding from his older brother, who is also the king of the Vanaras, the arrogant and most formidable Vali. Ram promised to kill Vali and help Sugriva get back his wife. In return, Sugriva promised to send out his monkey army to help look for Sita Devi.
Sugriva, it seems you've lost your senses. In spite of knowing how powerful I am, you've come to fight me?
Vali, I do not fear you. Fight with your hands and not just your mouth. Why did you become a coward? Come fight me.
Ah!
Oh, great father, I wish you had listened to mother and not rushed out to fight without thinking. What will we do without you?
Oh, Ram, I thought you were righteous and devoted to Dharma. I was not fighting with you. Why would you shoot me from behind?
Oh, Vali, you're accusing me of immorality without understanding the intricacies of Dharma. As a servant of King Bharat and a member of the royal Kshatriya class, it is my duty to protect the virtuous and punish the unrighteous. You, O monkey, have grievously wronged your faithful younger brother Sugriv. You attacked him, you insulted him, you exiled him, and even threatened to take his very own life. You even took up his wife Rama as your wife. And because of this sinful act, you are an aggressor, an atatai, and deserve to be punished like this. If a king does not punish a sinner, then he himself becomes sinful. Also, it is an accepted Kshatriya practice that a hunter can kill an animal without necessarily confronting it. Oh, Vali, if you still feel that I've wronged you, I can give you back your life right now.
My dear Lord, whatever you said is true. I've been overly proud of my strength and neglected of my sins. Lives I'll get many, only the rarest of rare will get death at your lotus hands. I seek to only die in your presence. My dear brother, please forgive my sins. Please accept the kingdom from me and take care of my son Angad. He shall remain faithful to you. I want you to have this chain that I got from the Devdas, and that was the source of my power. Dear Angad, don't bear any hatred towards Sugriva or Ram, because they haven't killed me. It's my own bad deeds that have caused my death.
Yes, father. I will give all respects and allegiance to Uncle Sugriva. And as for Lord Ram, he preferred us as his hand, so how can I be angry at him? I will be his faithful servant.
My innocence has been proven to my brother Vali. My wife has been returned to me, and my honor has been restored. That is all I wanted. And yet, even though my desires have been fulfilled and I have been vindicated, I am full of grief. I do not want any kingdom, and I do not want to live without my brother.
This world moves under the direction of eternal time, and every living entity that is born has to die. Do not lament for which is inevitable. After performing the funeral rites of your brother Vali, you should get coronated as the king, so that Kishkinda is protected under a king.
After Vali's death, Sugriva is enthroned as the king of Kishkinda. Hanuman jumps across the Indian Ocean and finds Mother Sita in Ravan's kingdom called Lanka. There followed a huge battle between Lord Ram and Ravan, along with their armies, which resulted in Ravan's death. Lord Ram, along with Mother Sita, Lakshman, Hanuman, and the rest of the monkey army proceeds to Ayodhya as their 14 years of exile also comes to an end. Lord Ram and Sita Devi were coronated as king and queen of Ayodhya, and there they lived happily for some time. We all know happiness in this material world is very fleeting, and that is what happened.
Guard, go call Lakshman.
Yes, brother.
Oh Lakshman, what I have to say is most painful. I have just heard that some citizens of Ayodhya have condemned me for accepting Sita after her kidnapping by Ravan. I know my beloved Sita is an epitome of purity and chastity. She cannot think of anyone but me, even in her dreams. But I also know how society works and what harsh words they would use against her. That is why, to avoid this very situation, I had Sita go through the Agni Pariksha in the presence of the demigods. Agni Dev himself appeared and testified for her. And my Sita underwent the ordeal willingly, so that no one would cast aspersions on me because of her. But now look.
Which fool dare say such things against Mother Sita? She's without any blame. I will punish that fool immediately so that no one defame her again.
No, Lakshman. We have to understand the concerns of our subjects. Even if one subject has such a thought, then I have to address it. As a king, I am duty-bound to set an example for the people to follow. If I act in any manner that's even perceived as being attached to my wife, then our people too will imbibe such values, and this will be a hindrance to their spiritual progress. Also, if I don't address this issue, then future kings may also disregard the will of their subjects if it's inconvenient for them.
So what should we do, dear brother?
I have thought about this from all angles, and the only path that presents itself breaks my heart. Even death pales in comparison. Just the other day, Sita mentioned her wish to visit the hermitages of the rishis along the banks of the river Ganga. Lakshman, I have no other option but to send Sita away into the forest. She will get shelter from the most exalted of rishis who reside there.
What are you saying? Stand away, Mother Sita. What is her fault in all this?
Sita is faultless and blameless, and I hope she understands why I have to do this and forgives me. Lakshman, against my heartfelt wish, I have to put my Raj dharma above my Pati dharma. If I act in any manner that's even perceived as self-centered, it will bring infamy to our dynasty. So Lakshman, tomorrow at dawn, you must take Sita on a tour of the hermitages and leave her there.
Oh, what burden has been placed on my shoulders. How can I ever face Mother Sita, knowing that I have to separate her from Lord Ram?
Dear Lakshman, will Ram be joining us on a tour of the hermitages? My mind feels uneasy, and suddenly I feel very weak. I hope Ram is alright, and I pray to God to always protect him.
Alas, alas, oh cruel destiny, why have I been entrusted such a despicable task? It would have been better that I died rather than execute this order.
Oh Lakshman, what is the matter? What troubles you?
Dear mother, Ram learned that there were rumors in the kingdom accusing him of accepting you back after your stay in Lanka. This has deeply impacted him because he knows that you are faultless, and yet he's forced to give you up due to his duty as a king to his subjects. He's asked me to leave you in the forest in the care of the rishis.
What? Has this life been awarded to me only for suffering? I must have committed a great sin in the past to deserve such a fate. I faithfully followed my husband into exile with a smile, and now I've been cast off. How will I survive here alone? What will I tell the rishis about why I've been abandoned? Oh Lakshman, I don't blame you. I know you're just simply following orders. Please go back to Ayodhya and tell Ram I accept his decision. I don't want any fingers to be pointed at him because of me.
fault and my son has died as a result, and his mother too shall die of grief.
O dear sage, what is beside you? A child said, in my kingdom, I'm utterly distressed that a young boy has died before it was his time. Have I done anything to cause this? Kindly enlighten me.
Many blessings to you, dearest king. Let me explain. Formerly, in the Satya Yuga, Brahmins alone practiced tapasya. In that age, men died prematurely and all were wise. In the Treta Yuga, Brahmins and warriors were allowed to practice tapasya. In the Dwapar Yuga, as untruth and evil increased, dharma in the form of tapasya was done by Brahmins, warriors, and Vaishyas, but the Shuddhas were not permitted to undertake it during that time. It is only in the Kali Yuga that all four Varnas could practice the tapasya, including the Shuddhas. At this time in your empire, a rigid penance is being undertaken by a Shuddha, and this is the cause of that child's death. You should go and investigate the happenings of your kingdom and put down a dharma, so dharma may flourish and the child be revived.
I will go and look for the person that is acting against religious injunctions.
Also, have the body of the child be placed in a jar of oil and medicines. The body of the child must not dissolve or decay.
As you say, dear sage. Warfare of study, warfare of determination. I'm Ram, the son of Dasha. Who are you, and what is the purpose of tapasya? Is it heaven or some other object? Answer me truthfully.
O king, I am a Shudra and my name is Shambhuka. I am performing penance in order to acquire the status of a deva in this body. I wish to attain the celestial vision.
All glories to you. Dharma has been restored. My son has regained his life. Thank you for giving us happiness. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jai Sitaram. Jai Sitaram. Jai Sitaram. Jai Sitaram.
Cut! Okay, y'all, you did a very good job, and I hope our audience liked it too.
There are still some parts that puzzle me about Lord Rama and the actions he did.
I thought there would be some questions, so I've invited a friend of mine who is a practicing devotee of the Lord and has some knowledge on the scriptures to help us answer these questions. This is my friend, and you can address her as Mataji. Let's discuss.
Krishna, I understand that you all may have questions. I'll try my best to answer them based on what I've understood from my Guru Maharaj. We should always make sure that for such sensitive topics, we don't inject our own material understanding, but get our understanding that's passed down to the bona fide gurus to the disciples.
Thank you, Mataji. I would like to know why Sambhuka was killed for performing tapasya.
When understanding scriptures, the background context needs to be understood. Vedic culture recognizes that not everything in the universe can be perceived with our senses. There are subtle factors and other conscious beings that interact with each other and with the humans. There's a hierarchy between these various beings, and everyone participates in the cosmic governance according to their place in the hierarchy. If anyone violates the codes, then the entire cosmic order is disturbed, which affects everyone. Shambhuka violated such a code.
Oh, I understand. The cosmic order is being disturbed everywhere due to human interaction. Man's exploitation of Mother Nature is a perfect example. Deforestation has led to the loss of countless animals and birds.
So what law did Shambhuka break?
Ramayana took in place in the Treta Yuga and in a different social order, where following dharma was most important. In this Vedic culture, everyone's progress was in a hierarchy, and yajna, tapa, and dan were restricted in access to only the Brahmins and Kshatriyas, because the material power they got could have been misused. That is what Shambhaka did. First, he did not follow the Shastras, and even though he was not a Brahmin or Kshatriya, he did tapasya in order to go to Devalok. Second, not only that, his tapasya was to go to Devalok in his human body, which is also against natural law and Shastras. Third, it has been mentioned in Sri Madhvacharya's book, the Tatparya Nirnay, that Shambhaka wanted to go to Devalok to become Shiva so he could enjoy the company of Mother Parvati. This desire for position for which one has no qualification or adhikar is a big sin. So as a protector of dharma and being the king of the world, Lord Ram had to kill him.
Okay, so why were Shudras not allowed to do yajna, tapa, and dan? How could they progress ahead?
Have you all heard of the Varnashram?
Yes, I have learned that the human society is divided into 4 occupational groups, or varnas. The Brahmanas, who are the thinkers and the teachers, the Kshatriyas, who are the governors and protectors, the Vaishyas, who are the producers and traders, and the Shudras, the workers that support the other varnas. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna states that all the varnas come from him, and each person is naturally inclined to a varna depending on his guna, like sattva, rajas, or tamas, and his karma.
Yes.
The system in which the guna and karma define the varna is called the Daiva Varnashrama Dharma, or the divinely established system.
Yes. All the Varnas are equally important for the running of good society, but each Varna has different rights and responsibilities associated with it. In the Treta Yuga, one such right given to the Brahmins and Kshatriyas was a qualification to do yajna, tapa, and dan, whose results were to benefit the entire society. For we have the example of Prithu Maharaj, who did the Ashwamedh yajnas, so his whole kingdom could benefit. So in response to your question, the Shudras could spiritually progress by keeping this restriction in mind and doing their duties properly, or by directly doing their devotional service to Krishna. We also have the example of Narad Muni, who in a previous birth was born in a Shudra family and was the son of a maidservant. But after having served some great sages with devotion, he took his first step towards the Narad Muni we know today, who can travel between worlds as a great devotee of Lord Vishnu.
However, we can see in modern times that this system has been perverted, and people are defined and judged by the caste that they're born into, rather than their gunas. It is such a huge barrier to the progress of humans, and is not at all sanctioned by the Shastras, but spread by ignorant people and pseudo-gurus.
So, Lord Ram did not believe in the caste system?
No, Lord Ram most certainly did not believe in his caste system because there was no such system in existence back then. Lord Ram is known as a Bhakta Vatsala, meaning loving towards his devotees, right? And so one of Lord Ram's good friends was Guha, who was the king of the Nishadas, and a tribe that is considered outside of the normal Varnashram setup. We also know of Shabari, a tribal woman who lived in a cottage by the Pampa Lake, waiting for years to get a chance to serve Lord Ram. When Lord Ram and Lakshman finally arrived at her cottage, she served them eating berries, which Lord Ram lovingly accepted since he was the only one who saw the true devotion in her heart.
That is so nice to hear. But I thought austerity or tapasya is good. What is wrong with doing tapasya?
Not all tapasya is pious. The threefold austerity known as BMW, austerity of body, mind, and words, performed only for the sake of the Supreme Lord and not for material benefits, is called austerity in goodness, or sattvic tapasya. Austerity performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion, or rajasic tapasya. Austerity done out of foolishness with self-torture and to destroy others is said to be in the mode of ignorance, or tamasic tapasya. Famous examples of such tapasya is done by demons like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu to gain power for self-gratification and harming other beings.
Shambhaka's tapasya was in the mode of ignorance because he wanted to become Shiva to enjoy the company of Mother Parvati.
He tried to usurp someone else's position, and that is a dharma.
We know why commit great offense, but why came unnecessarily?
I can answer that. Lord Ram acted as per the rules in the scriptures that were valid in Treta Yuga. In the Vedic scriptures, it was described as if a person was an aggressor with bad intentions, he could be killed by the Kshatriyas without any sinful reaction. So if somebody came to kill or to abduct someone's wife or to steal someone's property or to commit an arson, then in all of these cases, they could be killed by the Kshatriyas. Since Kshatriyas were meant to uphold the law, they would not incur any sin for killing them. This is just like today when policemen kill or arrest criminals while doing their duty, but yet do not get punished by law for doing so. The Kshatriyas were like the policemen. However, you can see the pure consciousness of Lord Ram here. He's not saying, I am God. He's saying, I'm serving on behalf of my younger brother Bharat, who is the king. Vali accepts this reasoning. Ultimately, Vali is not evil. He had just become arrogant. So actually, Lord Ram's words and Lord Ram's arrows purified him and brought forth his natural devotion. What I don't understand is why did Lord Ram send Sita away to the forest? Was he so conscious of his reputation?
Look, if Lord Ram was overly concerned about his reputation or appearances, he would have remarried. As a king, he is expected to do yajnas for the benefit of the kingdom, and a wife was required for it. When these sages pointed out this necessary requirement, Lord Ram refused to remarry. Instead, he had a golden image of Sita placed beside him during these yajnas, and by doing this, he showed that he still believed in Sita's purity. And by accepting this image, the sages also proved that they still believed in Sita's purity.
If Ram considers Sita pure, why would he abandon her?
We need to see the actions of the characters in the epics in accordance to the culture and values of that time. The Ramayana depicts Vedic culture, which is deeply spiritual and considers all relationships and all positions as opportunities to serve God and his children. To resolve an ethical crisis, one needs profound wisdom to recognize a higher moral principle and harmonize the lower moral principle accordingly. Ram's dharma was ethical because his dharma as a king conflicted with his dharma as a husband. As an ideal husband, he was duty-bound to protect his wife. But as an ideal king, he was duty-bound to teach by example to his citizens the path to spiritual advancement.
Yeah, so Ram himself has no doubts about Sita's purity. In fact, after the fall of Ravan, Ram had Sita go through the Agni Pariksha to prove her purity. Once she passed through the Pariksha, the demigods led by Brahman certified her spotless character.
But when despite all this, people were still questioning Sita's purity, Ram felt that nothing would ever convince them. If he neglected their concerns and continued to live with Sita, he would appear attached to her, and people used this alleged attachment to rationalize their own attachment to material things. If he silenced such people, he would seem arrogant and self-centered. Hence, Ram was forced to put this kingly duty ahead and send Sita to the forest. But he did not abandon her without any support or resources.
What is the difference between an ethical and a moral proverb?
I have learned that a moral dilemma confronts us with two choices, one moral and one immoral. One ethical dilemma confronts us with two choices, both moral. So, a thief would face a moral dilemma for whether to steal or not steal. While in this case, Lord Ram was facing an ethical dilemma of choosing between his duty as a king and husband.
Why did Ram have to make such a heavy choice? He was the king. He could do anything he wanted.
That's exactly why he had to do this. A king is a person with the most impressive power, opulence, and wealth. So, if a king demonstrates his attachment by not letting material things come in the way of spiritual cultivation, then the king's example would inspire the citizens to live in a dharmic way. So it was important for the king to demonstrate to his citizens that worldly attachments could not sway him from spiritual dharma. But what I don't understand is that Lord Ram had a duty as a husband. What about that?
Yeah. So Lord Ram never banished Mother Sita, right? Because banishment implies being evicted out of the kingdom without arrangements for food, clothing, or shelter. That is what happened to Lord Ram when he was banished by his stepmother Kaikeyi. In this case, Lord Ram asked Lakshman to leave Sita by the hermitages, so that way the elderly lady hermits could find her and take care of her, especially since she was pregnant.
In this whole pastime, I think Sita turned out to be the victim. Why were women shown so weak?
Oh no, dear, that is such a huge misunderstanding. If Sita was weak, would she have insisted on accompanying her husband to the forest for 14 years in exile, where she'd be surrounded by ferocious animals and rakshasas? No so-called strong, modern woman would have opted for this voluntarily. If she was weak, would she have the strength of character to give the Agni Pariksha, even though Ram had told her she need not have done it, and she had total freedom to do as she wished? If she was weak, would she be able to raise 2 amazing children without complaining of being the victim of a judgmental husband? She did not do that, and in fact, she groomed her children in the art of warfare, politics, shastras, music, and inculcated bhakti in them.
Yes, we learned that strength not only means fighting for our rights all the time, but also accepting our responsibilities and good and bad circumstances that come in our life. Strength means sacrifices, if required, of our most cherished relationships and possessions. And Sita did that time and again.
Of course, when she was informed of Ram's decision, she was devastated. But Sita soon regained her composure, understood her Lord's heart, and gracefully accepted her part in this sacrifice.
But why is it Sita that only had to sacrifice? It is always the women that are sacrificing. That doesn't sound fair.
Do you think Ram did not love Sita? Their love is as much of an epic love as that between Radha and Krishna. When Ram first found Sita missing, he went flying all over the forest, asking the forest animals, birds, trees, creepers if they'd seen his beloved Sita. He crossed an entire ocean and fought with the biggest terrorist of his day, Ravan, to get his wife back. He never remarried in spite of intense pressure, and after Sita left, Ram too is said to have lived in an austere way, even though he was surrounded by opulence. So you have to understand it was as much of a sacrifice for him as it was for her. Ram had lost the love of his life, and even though he did what was the only option he had, he was always in guilt and grief over his decision. So, in this incident, both Ram and Sita gave the supreme sacrifice.
I think everyone needs to understand that the Ramayana demonstrates what is the right thing to do under difficult circumstances.
Yes, in fact, the entire Ramayana is permeated with the spirit of right beyond right. When Sita's purity was questioned, the right path would have been to correct the narrative about her. But the path of right beyond right calls for sacrifice. This mood of sacrifice attains its peak in the separation of Ram and Sita. The mood throughout the epic is not of demanding one's rights, but of sacrificing one's rights for a higher cause.
The spirit of sacrifice is illustrated by Lakshman too when he accompanied Ram to the forest, leaving behind his beautiful newly married wife, Urmila. Bharat too demonstrated the spirit of sacrifice. He could have become king, but he did not do that. He discharged the responsibilities of a ruler, but never sat on the throne and placed Ram's sandals on the throne. Emulating his brother's hermit lifestyle, he lived in a cottage outside Ayodhya. In fact, I've heard a story that explains why Ram and Sita to separate. Long, long ago, when the Devtas and Rakshasas were fighting, the Rakshasas were given protection by Bhrigu Muni's wife, Kyati. The Devtas went to Vishnu for help, and when Kyati did not hand over the Rakshasas to him, he had to use his Sudarshan chakra on her. When Bhrigu came to know about this, he cursed Vishnu that when he would take birth in the material world, he would also suffer from separation of his wife.
Of course, Ram as the supreme being is not subject to anyone's curse, but he accepted it out of deference for the sage and for the purpose of his own pastimes. Besides all this, the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition explains that at an internal, spiritual wrestling, the separation of the divine couple facilitates Viraha Bhakti, meaning devotion and separation. Separation intensifies the devotee's remembrance of the Lord. Externally, such separation is painful, but internally, it is the height of spiritual ecstasy. Separation does to love what wind does to fire. It spreads it more and more. When separated from one another, Ram and Sita's fire of intense love burned even brighter and ignited more devotion towards each other.
However, it seems like this epic promotes injustice to women. That bothers me.
Look, the Lord is too great to be reduced to a stereotype based on mundane characterization of one incident. The Lord's activities, known as Leela or pastimes, are enacted to serve varying purposes. Accordingly, different pastimes demonstrate different qualities of the Lord. As Ram, his pastimes primarily demonstrated the mood of sacrifice. Its specific details aren't meant to be copied, as is evident from Ram's conduct in other situations. That very Ramayana, which describes Ram sending away Sita, also describes Ram's mercifulness towards women from all sections of the society.
I know about sage Gautama's wife Ahalya was turned to stone because of a curse. Ram did not judge her, and just his touch released her from that curse. Also, Shabri was treated as an outcast because of her birth, but Ram graced her by accepting the half-eaten berries that she offered with great devotion. Can you imagine offering Bhoga to the Lord that does not follow the rules of purity? We also know of Vali's wife Tara, who was given a place of dignity in the Kishkinda palace after Vali's death on Ram's instructions. Ram's compassionate nature to women knows no bounds. He later appeared as Krishna and rescued many princesses that had been abducted by Bhamasura. In those conservative times, those princesses would have been shunned by the society. But by marrying all 16,000 princesses, Krishna elevated their status to royalty.
Ram's forsaking Sita as an act of supreme sacrifice harmonizes with the starting point of Ramayana. And that is the question asked by Valmiki Muni. Who is an ideal person? The answer will always be Lord Ram, he who demonstrated the qualities of an ideal person, he who consistently demonstrated the virtue of sacrifice, no matter what it cost him.
Everything is so clear now, but I do still have one question. Why do people today demonize Lord Ram because of this incident?
In today's Kali, almost everyone is in the mode of ignorance. There's no education on the Shastras, and even where there is such education, it is usually done by some pseudo-gurus who teach their own half-baked interpretations on the subject, which is nothing to inspire the sincerest student. Hence, most of the people are continuously living a material life of illusion, thinking that to be the truth. True knowledge can only be obtained by a teacher who is in a disciplined succession, where knowledge is passed down in its purest form without adding one's own mental speculations. So, I take this opportunity to thank Lord Krishna, who brought me into the association of Srila Prabhupada and all these wonderful devotees, who in turn brought me closer to Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So Hare Krishna. We hope that this play was very entertaining as well as very informative for all of you. The Lord needs no defense, though we did put up a defense for him. But having Shastric understanding from Acharyas and the other devotees on these thorny questions, that sort of helps us to have a deeper understanding of the Lord and his Leelas, and also a resolute faith in him that can withstand any criticism or doubts from anyone. So this play was done by the ISKCON Boston Vidyashram children. We have a Vidyashram program which was started 2.5 years ago to provide scriptural exposure to our children and provide a spiritual perspective on life. So today, despite having good technology, financial opportunities, better medicine and healthcare, most of us are still dissatisfied with life. Depression and mental health issues are rampant, and this has also percolated to our younger kids and children. So giving our kids the guidance and tools collected from the wisdom of the sages and scriptures is the best gift we can give them. So our Vidyashram is a step in this direction. Our Vidyashram is a 5-hour program which is designed to provide academic skills with the study of spiritual and cultural philosophy. So currently we are reading and analyzing applicable life lessons from Ramayana. We're also learning the nectar of instruction written by our Gaudiya Acharya that provides a spiritual basis for our devotional life. We are also doing readings from Bhagavatam, which focuses on the lives of devotees and lessons that can be derived from it. We develop and hone academic skills like presentation skills, dramatics, like you saw now, singing, and so many other skills in the course of our studies. So now that we are resuming our full-time classes, we'll be conducting sessions also on contemporary topics like the use of technology, body and nutrition, nature and healing, etc. So if any of the parents are interested, they can get more information. We have flyers out in the lobby, or you can ask me any questions after the session is done. So back to the play, I would like to end by acknowledging and thanking the various devotees who have helped us put up this play in front of you. We have Padma Gopika Mataji, who was the main coordinator and facilitator, and on behalf of the temple. We also had Mukta Prabhu, who provided us help with the sound, Sagar Prabhu, who helped with lighting and props, and in the play, we had Bhima Prabhu, who was the narrator, and who helped us with the beautiful background music. And of course, our main stars for this evening. So I'm going to stand on the side so you can see them all. So we are very, very proud of them, and I also want to thank the parents before I go on to name the children, because all the parents helped with all the memorization, with the costumes, snacks, and also inspiring them and coaxing them to learn their lines. So in skit 1, we had Radha Priya. Radha Priya, you can stand up as Vali. Just in the interest of time, I'll read out all the names and we can give them a clap together. Okay, thank you very much. We've got Purav as Sugriva. We've got Radha as Lord Ram. And we've got Sia as Angan. Sia, this is Sia. Yes. You can sit down. In skit 2, we had Mishti as Lord Ram. Vishnu. Vishnu is here. Okay, Vishnu is standing in the audience. He was playing the guard. Then we had Ethereal as Lakshman. And we had Danya as Sita. In skit 3, we had Gopal playing the Brahmin. Gopal, you can stand up. Okay. We had Shaurya as Lord Ram. Shaurya. Diva as Narad Muni. And Vishakha as Shambhu. Vishakha is here. Turn around so people can see you. And at the end, we had Shrestha who played the director. And we had Mishti who played the devotee. So thank you all very, very much for your patience.